Michael Savage Show contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Here is Michael Savage.
What would you say about the common perception held by many young people that the U.S. is anti-Muslim?
Oh, that hurts me. That hurts me so much, honestly. I mean, it's a painful perception to hear about, and I deeply regret that anyone believes that or propagates it. I certainly think President Obama has sent a very clear message of respect and appreciation of all religions, and in particular of Islam.
When you dance, be sure to hold her.
Welcome to the Savage Nation. We open with When You Dance by the Turbans in honor of Hillary Clinton.
On your mind, such a thrill.
Yeah, it gets stranger by the day, doesn't it? Respect for all religions, in particular Islam, as though Islam built America. Islam built America. They came over on the Mayflower. It wasn't Christians who came over on the Mayflower. It wasn't Christians who wrote the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, but it was Muslims. Just ask Obama and Hillary Clinton. I mean, you know that you can only bend over backwards so far until your spine breaks. What is this supine nature towards Islam? Why does this administration feel it necessary, a day after we found another group of Muslims trying to blow up another airplane, to bend over backwards and tell us another big lie about the wonders of Islam? Welcome to the newly created Union of Socialist States of America, a land where our worst enemies are praised but our allies stiffed. He treats radical Islamists in the Middle East like friends, then stiffs Israel and Western European allies. It's on the back of Trickle-Down Tyranny, the most important book ever written in the history of America. Now a witness to Breitbart's death vanishes. Now, you could say, well, it's just hype, but you know it's really strange. This death follows the suspicious demise of a member of the coroner's team who also died, allegedly of arsenic poisoning. It was posted on WND. I put it up on michaelsavage.com. You could say it's coincidental. And I could say, why was Breitbart's skin reported to have been bright red at death instead of white? Did somebody poison him in that bar? One of the people who saw him last has now disappeared. The demise of a member of the coroner's team, a young man also dead, right after they issued the report that there was no foul play. That's on the top of michaelsavage.com. Next story. Big bucks libs, including old George Soros, to focus on illegal aliens and get them to vote illegally. That's Obama's secret trick. That's his October surprise. Cinco de Mayo every day. In other words, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to try to register non-citizens to vote. Now, with regard to Hillary Clinton, Zbigniew Brzezinski, George Soros, and their puppet Obama, catering to the Muslim Brotherhood, you should be very worried indeed. Why is it that the Muslim Brotherhood, a radical, dangerous, aggressive, fascist organization, suddenly, why is this organization in favor with the Obama administration? They were in the White House a few weeks ago. Jerusalem Post reports Muslim Brotherhood vows a global caliphate centered in Jerusalem, the wiping out of all Jews on the earth. Is there a Jew in America who doesn't understand that this is a pro-Muslim regime and that is anti-Zionist, meaning anti-Jewish? When are you going to put two and two together and understand that if you're a Democrat and you're voting for Obama, you're voting for the death of yourself, fool? Now, I've heard it said that the Democrat libs are anti-Zionist, they're not anti-Jewish. Well, Martin Luther King Jr. himself said, make no mistake about it, there's no such thing as anti-Zionism, it's anti-Semitism. You didn't know about that quote, did you? There's a lot of quotes you don't know about that I happen to know to be the truth. Next story on michaelsavage.com. Will rich people desert the United States if taxes are raised? I don't know. Where are they going to go? France? RNC official reports Romney is still deciding his position on immigration. I knew that was coming. I knew Romney was a flip-flopper on immigration because I had dinner with him 2 years ago in a restaurant in San Francisco. And I brought up immigration very quietly. And he said to me right then and there, he said, oh, that's a tough one, you know, Michael. He said, you see, if I say anything about immigration, I'll be seen as anti-Hispanic. And I said, well, maybe you ought to be seen as anti-illegal immigration and pro-Hispanic. That did not register on Romney's plate. He did like the he did like the food, I'll tell you that. Speaking of food, I figure I'm going to shift now because you had enough politics. I have a loaf of bread in my hand. I'm a big bread eater. My mother was a big bread eater. I know that it's we're living in an anti-carb jihad in America today. Most people who are svelte don't eat anything that's containing any wheat. They're all anti-wheat, anti-dairy, anti-this, anti-that. I don't know what they live on. I think ecstasy and sex. Good luck to them. I myself love good bread. But I've noticed a certain relationship in where you can get good bread in America. And I'm going to throw this by you. I have a loaf of sweet baguette. I went to the market today for lunch. I'm so fed up with restaurants. I'm getting sick in all of them. Then I went to the market and I bought a chicken and a bread for lunch. So I looked at the package because when I'm in Florida, you can't get bread. Bread does not exist in Florida. Maybe Miami, you can get a loaf somewhere. I don't know. You can't get bread in Florida. You can't. And one of the things I love about the San Francisco area, in addition to the weather, is the bread. You get the best bread in the world in the Bay Area, San Francisco area. So, like, this is so tasty, this sweet baguette. You know, I'm not going to read a brand because it's not to promote a brand. But I came up with a quotient, and this isn't something that's going to disturb you. The bigger the liberal quotient, the higher the liberal quotient, the better the bread. In other words, if you go to places in America where there's a lot of libs, coffee is better and the bread is better. If you go to areas in America where there's a very high, super, super conservative quotient, the worst bread and the worst coffee in the world. It's battery acid and white bread. Why is that? Can anyone explain that to me? Now, you think I'm being, like comedic in the political arena, and I am. I am being comedic in the political arena because at a certain point you have to be comedic in the political arena. But I actually believe what I just said to you is true. It's like asking you yesterday. If you missed the show, I ate in a buffet, an Indian buffet, which I like. And I asked you what the protocol is in a buffet. And in other words, if you've got your main course in a buffet, and you went through the buffet line once, and then you want to go back for a second dip on the chicken, the tandoori chicken, but they're lined up 6 deep on the rice part. Can you jump ahead and grab the chicken? Or do you have to go to the back of the line? Food is very essential. I mean, it's an essential part of life. So I want to ask you, do you agree with me on the bread, that the higher the liberal quotient, the better the bread and the better the coffee? There's no question, it's true. Because you go into geeky, like backwoods areas, you know what you're getting. You're getting one type of coffee. It's battery acid coffee. And if you ask for anything else, they think that you're either a communist or sexually disoriented, right? Or they want to throw you out of the coffee shop. I mean, if you ask for a Frappuccino somewhere in Redding, California, you know what happened to you. Well, let's say you go up into the Sierra foothills and you get off the highway in the wrong place. It's like Deliverance. It's like 1949. The people are nice. They listen to my show. But for God's sakes, you can't get bread and you can't get coffee. I myself don't eat sourdough bread. I hate it. I detest it. I know that basically sourdough bread is to Northern Californians what matzah is to Jews. I understand that. It's like a sacred grain. Somehow they think you have to eat sourdough bread if you live in the San Francisco area. I can't stand it. Basically, it was the bread of haste for miners, which is very, very interesting because, like, matzah is the bread of haste for the ancient Israelites, which is an interesting story. One day I'll write an essay on it when I'm very old and I have nothing better to do. But I love bread. And I want to talk about bread for a minute. In fact, I think in my next life I'm going to come back as a bagel baker. No. Have you ever met a baker you didn't like? I have never met a baker I didn't like. There's something about them. If you go there 4 o'clock in the morning, they're usually they're just different kind of people. They're covered in like a white dust, like there's a dust on them, and they're nice people. They're like, I don't understand it. I think people are attracted to certain professions. You know that, let's put it this way. Do you know any lawyers who were bakers? You know any bakers who were lawyers? No. They're diametrically opposite. In other words, on a scale of human endeavors, on one side you have bakers, on the other side you have lawyers. Right or wrong? Yes. Why am I talking about bread? Because if I talk any more about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and their pandering to radical Islam, stabbing Israel in the back, undercutting the military, stabbing successful people in the back, supporting the deadbeats, I'm going to blow a seal. And I'm not a Navy SEAL. I only have one SEAL left. Speaking of the Navy and SEALs in the Bay, I was looking at a couple of birds through a pair of binoculars on my roof today. I have a little cottage down by the Bay of San Francisco. And I love to look at the seals and the birds. I even like seagulls. But it's interesting to me is that there's a pair of little birds have appeared, and they sing all day long, and they've taken over one of the chimneys that even the big seagulls, go on and off. I don't know how these little tiny red-chested birds survive around these monster seagulls that don't kill them. But I noticed something. Here's a pair of birds, a male and a female bird, obviously, because they haven't yet read Cher's Protocols of Sexuality. And they recognize that in order to make an egg, a boy bird has to land on a roof with a girl bird, and they have to hang out for a while for an egg to appear. They have not yet taken on the Chaz book of unreality. So they are on the roof. I watched them, and they're singing. And then one disappears and flies away. And I started to think as I watch them with my binoculars, do you know of any animals in the animal kingdom, which is our best guide to how we should behave in many ways, since most animals are more civilized than most liberals? Do you know any animals in the annals of zoology that go out of their way to not only feed themselves, but let us say give food that they've gathered so desperately for themselves and the young ones, and give it away to animals of their same species who do nothing? Do you know of any species that think it's okay for half of their brethren to lay around in the nest and not go hunt for worms? And they're going to bring home worms and split the worm in half and give it to the bums? That's what socialism is. That's what liberalism is. That's what Obamaism is. They want you to work all day and take half of what you earn and give it to those who lay in their nest all day and do nothing but tote a joint. Get it? That's why I'm talking about bread. It's all about the bread. I'll be right back.
Savage.